Just another regular day in Tokyo, Japan. Makoto Misumi, your average high schooler, finishes up his after-school archery practice, heads home, takes a quick shower, and then settles in to read his dad's latest book. Feeling a bit worn out, he plops down on his bed for a quick nap when suddenly he's whisked away to a trippy, otherworldly dimension filled with swirling colors and stars. Confused and disoriented, Makoto floats around until he encounters Tsukimichi, the god of the night, who drops a bombshell on him. Turns out his parents made a deal with a goddess from another realm before he was born, promising to give up one of their kids in exchange for a ticket to Earth. And guess what? Makoto drew the short straw. After a brief freakout, Makoto reluctantly accepts his fate. Tsukimichi hooks him up with some epic powers and magic and then dumps him in front of the goddess, who promptly roasts him before tossing him into a new world. As Makoto freefalls into this strange wasteland, Tsukimichi pops up again to give him the lowdown on his powers. Once he lands, Makoto wanders around for days until he hears cries for help. Following the sound, he saves a she-orc named Emma from becoming Monster Chow. Grateful but wary, Emma spills her tragic backstory to Makoto. Turns out she's slated to be a sacrifice to a big, bad dragon. Makoto, being the stand-up guy he is, decides to help her out. After scarfing down some orc grub, Makoto convinces Emma to teach him magic. She's skeptical at first, but eventually agrees. Makoto's first attempt at casting a spell goes a little overboard, but hey, he's a quick learner. The next day, Makoto bids farewell to Emma and sets off to take down the dragon himself. He tests out his powers and manages to wreck one of the dragon's altars, kicking off a showdown with the big bad himself. Dodging dragon fire like a pro, Makoto delivers a serious beatdown. But just when he's about to finish the job, the dragon pulls a sneaky move and traps him in a mind game. Makoto snaps out of it, levels up his powers, and breaks free. The dragon, impressed by Makoto's skills, offers him a deal. Makoto eventually agrees to the terms and conditions and they sign a contract, making Shin his servant. However, this time Shin transforms into a stunning heroine with killer curves. Makoto questions her choice of form and she explains it's because he beat her fair and square in their fight, and the rules dictate that the loser takes on the appearance of their new master. They engage in some small talk before Shin asks if she can take Makoto somewhere. With his approval, she whisks them away to a demi-plane using a mist portal. Inside, they're both surprised to find a lush, vibrant landscape instead of the expected dreary setting. They indulge in some persimmons and enjoy the scenery before deciding to return to the land of the orcs to clear up any misunderstandings. Back in the real world, they encounter Emma, who is rushing to warn Makoto about fighting the dragon. Upon learning that Makoto already defeated the dragon, Emma faints from relief. The villagers throw a massive party to celebrate Makoto's victory, during which Shin, now in the form of a beautiful heroine, discusses plans with the orcs. Despite Makoto's objections, Shin convinces him to allow the orcs to relocate to the fertile lands of the demi-plane. With Shin's help, the orcs settle in and begin building a new community. Days later, while Makoto practices his magic, Shin delves into his memories to watch a historical drama. Makoto intervenes when he notices her getting too absorbed and agrees to let her watch under threat. Bored, Shin leaves to gather materials for a makeshift TV. Meanwhile, Makoto reflects on his parents' legacy and promises to follow their path. Just outside the orc settlement, he aids two struggling orcs before continuing his journey. Resting, Makoto discovers he's bleeding profusely but can't heal himself. Shin arrives with an unconscious dwarf who was attacked by the Black Disaster Spider. Moments later, the spider appears and attacks Makoto, who struggles due to his fear of spiders. In the midst of battle, Makoto unleashes his fire powers but finds the spider continuously regenerating. Cornered, he taps into newfound strength, incinerating the spider before passing out from exhaustion. Shin intervenes, convincing the spider to form a contract with Makoto while he's unconscious. The spider dude morphs into a human chick and tags along with them. Makoto wakes up later to find a new chick, cute but with a dangerous vibe, chilling in his crib. She introduces herself as the Black Spider and spills the beans about how she healed him. Makoto freaks out a bit when he learns Shin made a deal with her without his say-so. When he's fully woke, Makoto reunites with his crew. Shin and the Black Spider join them along with the dwarf they saved earlier, who goes by Elder. Elder explains how he lifted a curse off the Black Spider, and then he asks Makoto if his crew can crash in their demi-plane. Makoto's about to agree, but Shin jumps in with a laundry list of conditions. Elder's cool with it, so he bounces to rally his peeps. Once Makoto's back on his feet, he ventures outside the demi-plane to scout for humans. No dice today, though, so he heads back inside, where Shin and the Black Spider hit him up for names. Reluctantly, Makoto dubs Shin Tomo and the spider Mio, and they're totally stoked about it. Makoto then steps up as the young master to the new crew in the demi-plane. They vote on the title, and then each group introduces themselves. The dwarves pledge loyalty, the mist lizards join up, and Mio shows off her spider clan. After the intros, Makoto dips, eager to find a human settlement. He lucks out and finds a hottie in the wastelands, but she freaks and bolts. Makoto follows her to a settlement where he's met with hostility. Unable to communicate due to the goddess's curse, he bails back to the demiplane, cursing his luck. Back home, Emma and the crew fill him in on why he's freaking out the humans thanks to a mana cloak. They promise to help him appear less demonic, and Makoto gets to work learning the human language and trying out a mana-suppressing ring. After some trial and error, they craft a ring that works, and Makoto hits the town the next day looking more human. At the Adventurers Guild, they register and get briefed on power levels and rewards. Tomo and Mio both measure power levels much higher than 1,000, but Makoto's just average. With that sorted, they find a place to crash for the night. The receptionist tries to pull a fast one on them, but eventually caves under the pressure. Makoto and his crew settle into their rooms before hitting the town for grub. They sense someone tailing them and decide to confront their stalkers after dark. When night falls, Makoto and Mio play the drunk lovers act to throw off their pursuers. But things take a turn when a street kid, Rainon, approaches them for help. Makoto, being the softy he is, listens to her story and agrees to lend a hand. They bring Rainon back to their room where she spills the beans about her mission to rescue her sister from a crime boss. Meanwhile, Tomo catches a gang trying to swipe their ride and takes care of business, maybe a bit too brutally for Makoto's taste. Rainon interrupts their chat, craving some grub, and Makoto shares Tomo's meal with her. He also takes a peek at a sketch of Rainon's sis, which oddly resembles his old flame from back home. Later, Mio returns and catches Makoto and Tomo snooping through the memories of the criminal Tomo nabbed. Makoto hatches a plan to bust Rainon's sis out of prison, much to his crew's reluctance. As they head to the clink, Mio and Tomo gossip about their master's memories. Mio's a bit jelly that Tomo has an easier time accessing them, but they cut the convo short as dawn approaches. Come morning, Makoto and Rainon roll into town on their wagon, planning to make a delivery. Rainon spills her guts about how she and her sis got tangled up with the town's top dog adventurer. Meanwhile, Rainon's sister explains her side of the story, revealing her journey to restore her family's rep, but before she can drift off, Tomo and Mio bust her out of her cell. They're about to make a clean getaway when they run into Mills Ace, the big boss adventurer. Rainon spots one of his goons in town and sneaks off to chat with him. Makoto uses a locator spell to snoop on their convo and learns that Rainon's being coerced into stealing from him. The goon reports back to Mills, who's busy facing off against Tomo and Mio. Mills tries to recruit them, but they shut him down and kick off a magic brawl. They wreck half the town in the process, but instead of feeling bad, they decide to blow off steam by trashing the rest. After Mio and Tomo wreck Setsuya Town, Rainon's reunited with her sis, thanks to Makoto and his two grumpy sidekicks. Makoto decides to punish them for trashing the city by tying them up and sending them back to the demiplane. Once they've learned their lesson, Makoto jets off to a military base. There, he overhears a soldier spinning a wild tale about monsters destroying Setsuya. Makoto, being the sneaky dude he is, has altered everyone's memories so they think it's true. When the soldier brags about Tomo and Mio saving the day, the attendant ain't buying it. Makoto steps in to prove their power levels, then dishes out some discipline to Tomo. Tomo gets assigned to a mission called Night Air Entry, while Mio's just glad to have some alone time with her master. On their way back to the demiplane, Rainon chats with Mio about her feelings for Makoto, but he ignores them and keeps riding until they run into some nasty bees. Makoto tells Mio to handle it, and she wipes out the swarm in record time. They loot the bees for materials and keep on trekking, camping out when they need a break. 3 days later, they encounter ruby-eyed monsters, and Makoto steps up to take M down, much to the traveler's surprise. Despite being a low-level adventurer, Makoto crushes the monsters, impressing everyone. They harvest materials to sell in the market before finally reaching Sage, where they register as adventurers and pick up a quest from the Rembrandt Trading Company. After gathering the monster remains, Makoto parts ways with the travelers and meets up with them later at a butcher's shop for some grub. They bond over meat and introductions, with Makoto meeting Hazal the alchemist, Luisa the gunner, and Renina the priest knight. Mio hopes for a cozy night with her master, but he leaves her hanging, playing it cool like a Sigma male. The next day, Makoto takes Mio back to the demiplane to start a trading company, but Emma ain't feeling it and tells him straight up. Makoto explores the demiplane, discovering new settlements and even a castle in the works. Emma spills the beans about using some of his memories to set up shop. Then a dwarf shows off some special armor, but Makoto ain't sold. Just as he's about to give up, he spots a sick outfit that boosts his abilities and changes colors. Makoto suits up and starts feeling like a boss. Next, he checks out some poisonous goods with the Alks and gets ready for more adventures. On this day, Makoto steps out of the demiplane and heads to the Rembrandt Trading Company. There, he encounters the leader, who stays tight-lipped. Over at the Tsaju Adventurers Guild, Line Lade, the top dog, investigates the mysterious newcomer sporting a mask. He uncovers Makoto's identity and vows to take him down pronto. Meanwhile, in Patrick Rembrandt's mansion, the company rep grills Makoto about his background. Discovering Makoto's a level 1 adventurer with zip experience, Rembrandt brushes him off, dissing his skills. But when Makoto whips out the remains of a ruby-eyed monster, Rembrandt's jaw drops. Turns out Rembrandt needs those eyes to craft a special medicine called ambrosia to cure his cursed wife and daughter. Makoto offers his aid, boasting of an alchemy master in his corner. He presents more monster parts, winning Rembrandt's favor. With a signed receipt in hand, Makoto heads back to the guild, greenlit by Rembrandt. Back at the guild, Makoto learns he needs to ace 2 tests to join up. The attendant hands him a cheap study book, underestimating his smarts. But Makoto breezes through the test, finding it child's play. The next test is no picnic, but Makoto plays it smart, offering up materials to meet the requirements. He snags his guild card that very day. Meanwhile, Tomo, backed by her knight errantry, bags giant crabs and sneaks them to the demi-plane for a feast with the orcs. Mid-meal, an orc spills the beans about seeing Mio in Makoto's memory vault. Tomo freaks out, fearing Mio's messing with their master's memories. But it turns out Mio's just helping translate them. Emma pressures Tomo into joining the translation gig, leading to some tense moments and bickering between the two. While Makoto chills at a diner in Sage, pondering his drink order, he overhears chatter about someone bagging a giant crab. He makes a mental note before settling on a drink, which turns out to be a dud. He heads back to the demi-plane for grub, where he catches Tomo snagging persimmons. They chow down and discuss his plans to fix the wonky weather. Suddenly, Tomo telepathically cries for help, claiming Mio's causing trouble in the memory vault. Makoto rushes in to find the two duking it out over a dull anime from his past. He mediates the squabble and sentences Tomo to another lecture for the drama. Later on, Makoto and the girls return to the inn in Sage to discuss Rembrandt's company before hitting the hay. With only 2 beds, Makoto offers to crash on the couch. But his 2 loyal companions have other ideas, scheming to keep him to themselves for the night. Just as they plot their devious scheme, Makoto receives a message from Hazel the alchemist asking for help in creating the ambrosia drug. The next morning, Makoto teams up with Hazel to start their work. Little do they know, Line Lade and his cronies lurk nearby, plotting to take down Rembrandt's trading company. Days later, Makoto witnesses Rembrandt and his butler, Morris, committing a heinous act of torture leading to a man's death. Later on, Makoto and Hazel arrive at the mansion to synthesize the ambrosia drug. Despite Hazel's jitters, Rembrandt guides them through the process. Makoto lends a hand to speed things up and they successfully produce the drug. However, upon returning to the living room, they find Rembrandt injured, attacked by his feral wife and daughters when he tried to administer the drug. Seeing the danger, Makoto offers to help and is taken to the family quarters. He swiftly administers the drug to heal Rembrandt's family, overcoming their ferocity. Rembrandt, grateful, asks Makoto for his true identity, but Makoto simply claims to be a regular adventurer. Afterward, they part ways on good terms. Outside the mansion, Makoto encounters his persistent servants, just as Lime and his goons launch a surprise attack. Detecting Lime's presence, Makoto and his crew dodge the assault. Tomo seeks her master's guidance, and Makoto orders Tomo to take charge of the battle while Mio eagerly awaits her cue. When the fight commences, Tomo swiftly dispatches Lime's lackeys, leaving only Lime and his henchmen. After capturing them, they interrogate Lime, discovering his faction's involvement in the curse on Rembrandt's family. Makoto verifies the truth and sends Lime back to tend to his injured comrades. Lime later apologizes to Rembrandt, who accepts his remorse and announces his retirement from the guild. Next, Makoto links up with Lime at the orphanage he vowed to defend, offering him a gig as a spy. Lime mulls over Tomo's proposal and sees it as a sweet deal, so he signs on without hesitation and jumps right into action. Tomo hands him his first paycheck, a cool 1,000 gold coins, sealing the deal. Afterward, she sneaks back to the Rembrandt mansion to eavesdrop on their scheming. She overhears Rembrandt and his butler plotting to keep tabs on Makoto before slipping away unnoticed. Back at the demi-plane, Makoto and his crew realize they've got their work cut out for them. During lunch, Makoto learns from Emma and the orc that the trainee warriors are feeling down about their skills, fearing they'll never measure up to Makoto's crew. Tomo chews them out for their defeatist attitude, sparking yet another spat with Mio. Makoto intervenes, instructing Mio and Tomo to chat with the lake and lizardmen, respectively. After lunch, Makoto eavesdrops on some orcs griping about his overwhelming power. Reflecting on his last scuffle with them, he recalls holding back. He then catches Mio munching on tomatoes for the first time and receives an update from Tomo on her talk with the lizardmen. They're wary of teaming up with the orcs to train together. Tomo devises a plan and puts it into action during their next gathering. She arranges a duel between the strongest warriors from each clan, Agaras representing the orcs and Liddy the Mist Lizards. Agaras emerges victorious, part of Makoto's grand design. Post-bout, Makoto rallies the crowd to unite and grow stronger together. He announces regular arena matches to foster teamwork and individual growth, boosting morale. Afterward, Makoto and his crew hit up the Adventurers Guild to register, shocking the attendant with their power levels. Makoto agrees to help train the rookies, tasking Tomo with the job. Tomo kicks off the training with the rookies, subjecting them to grueling drills and a showdown with ferocious gorillas. The team reaches a breaking point and seeks counsel from Tomo, who advises them to overcome their weaknesses and collaborate. She devises a strategy involving Hazel setting traps, Biza poisoning the mud, and the archer peppering the gorillas with arrows, giving the team a fighting chance against the formidable foes. The crew's plan proves super effective, helping them wipe out all the gorillas with ease. Even when one straggler remains, Tomo swiftly finishes it off, leaving no survivors. They then move on to the next location and effortlessly dispatch the gorillas there too. After a day of intense training, Tomo sets a tough challenge for her team: take down a den of vicious gorillas the next day to prove their mettle. The trainees are stunned but accept the challenge, brainstorming strategies for the task ahead. The following day, they return triumphant with bags full of gorilla tails, earning instant renown in the guild. Meanwhile, Makoto assigns Mio the task of retrieving Amwaza's flowers from the perilous Tinnarak forest while he focuses on setting up their new trading company. Mio embarks on her mission with a group of adventurers unaware they're being trailed. As they traverse the deadly forest, they remain oblivious to their watchers. Back in the demi-plane, Makoto discusses his meeting with Rembrandt and plans to establish the trading company with his crew over lunch. Rembrandt offers Makoto space in his real estate despite knowing his intentions, playing the long game. Later, Makoto's crew throws a bash to celebrate the company's founding. Makoto delivers a lackluster speech before diving into the festivities. Mio observes Makoto's affectionate interaction with Tomo's fragment, feeling a pang of jealousy. She tries to pull Makoto away, but Tomo intervenes, heightening the tension. Meanwhile, Liddy, the lizard man, reports on his progress in training to his master, and ELD, the dwarf, discusses weapon-making possibilities with Makoto. Makoto grants ELD permission to experiment with weapon crafting. Grateful orcs express their appreciation for Makoto's kindness. Elsewhere, Mio and Tomo share their concerns about Makoto, only to stumble upon him practicing archery with a makeshift target. They confront him, surprised at his survival. Mio sheds tears, believing she's seeing his ghost, while Tomo praises his mana growth. Makoto, annoyed, conceals his mana and continues comforting Mio. Tomo, however, relishes in Makoto's strength, enjoying the moment while it lasts. The following day, Makoto returns to Sage to check out his shop, wandering the streets aimlessly as brain fog clouds his thoughts. His sleepless night due to arguments and rants from the girls doesn't help. While walking, a bag flies towards him and a demi-human rushes to retrieve it. Makoto's gaze inadvertently lands on a woman's chest, catching the attention of his servants who drag him back to their hotel room, intending to take advantage of him. Makoto tries to reason with them, but they're undeterred. Using his powers, he repels them and teleports back to the demi-plane. In the demi-plane, Emma finds him hanging on a tree and takes him to the dwarf for a change of clothes. Mio apologizes for her earlier behavior, and Makoto asks her to accompany him to find the new species of ambrosia flowers. Mio eagerly accepts, and they head to the Tinnarak forest. As they approach the flowers, they sense amateur adventurers following them. Mio subdues them with her silk, leading Makoto into the flower field. Suddenly, they encounter the two individuals who were tracking Mio earlier. Mio, enraged by the interruption, prepares to fight them. One of the intruders questions them before attacking. Mio, Makoto, and their stalkers flee as the attackers pursue them. Makoto calls Tomo for assistance, who advises creating a smokescreen to blind the attackers and bringing the rookies back to the demi-plane. Following Tomo's plan, Mio creates a smokescreen and Makoto feeds her his blood to restore her to normal. As the attackers approach, Mio absorbs their mana, dispelling their spells. Makoto blinds them with light and destroys their wands. The rookies find themselves in an illusionary city between worlds, guided by Tomo's fragments. After defeating the attackers, Makoto and Mio reconcile with Aqua and Eris, who agree to take them to their settlement to discuss acquiring the ambrosia flowers. At the village, they meet the Council of Elders, and Makoto explains they are merchants seeking the flowers. Adobo, Nildasori's son, arrives to greet them. Makoto understands the ogre's need for secrecy but remains silent about his identity. Later, in Makoto's room, Aqua and Eris discuss with him when their master, Mondo, bursts in and introduces himself. Mio punches him for holding Makoto's hand, and Mondo vows vengeance. Meanwhile, Makoto asks Mio to help him investigate Adano and Mondo, sensing something amiss. Mio eagerly accepts the job and disappears into the ground. There, she ponders her master's anxiety, hoping it's nothing serious. Sensing Mondo roaming the forest, she decides to spy on him. Analyzing his mana, she detects an earth element. Shortly after, she intercepts a telepathic conversation between Adano and Mondo, revealing their allegiance to a demon. Later, the village throws a party in honor of Makoto and Mio. During the festivities, Makoto witnesses Adano attacking Mondo, only for both to collapse as a cloaked demon with fiery mana appears. Approaching the Lich Demon, Makoto demands answers. Surprised by Makoto's resilience, the demon attacks with dark magic, but Makoto absorbs it all. Tomo arrives and introduces herself to Nelbo Story, who initially forgets her true identity. Corrected by Tomo, Nelbo Story acknowledges Makoto with respect. Makoto and his servants interrogate the demon, who reveals his ambition to become a Grant and travel between worlds. Despite insults, Makoto seeks to learn dark magic from him. Tomo suggests a contract between Makoto and the demon, enabling mutual assistance. Makoto initiates the ritual, while elsewhere, rookie adventurers contemplate stealing from the Demiplane's treasures. Upon completing the contract, Makoto transforms the demon into a Jigachad to show appreciation. However, Tomo collapses, coughing up blood due to an explosion triggered near the Demiplane's barriers. Makoto tends to her and rushes with Shiki, his former demon, to investigate. Shiki runs out of energy but offers to heal the wounded. Makoto discovers unconscious demi-humans and revives them with his healing magic. Meanwhile, he senses his mana suspended in the air and learns from an orc that Shin's fragment and an orc perished in the explosion. Examining the explosion site, Makoto finds remnants of a mist gate and senses another adventurer's presence on the other side. As he touches the adventurer, he starts witnessing the memories of the woman with attractive attributes that he bumped into a few weeks back. Shockingly, it turns out the woman was responsible for the demise of the orc and Shin's fragment, as Makoto observes her and her crew harassing the orcs in the illusionary city. Makoto becomes incredibly irritated by the woman's mistreatment of his demi-humans. He opens a mist gate and confronts the troublesome adventurer. Despite being slightly injured, the woman becomes terrified upon seeing Makoto's expressionless face. Attempting to strike him with her sword, she finds Makoto steadily advancing towards her. After expressing his regrets, Makoto disables her by cutting both her hands before ending her life with a slit throat. Shedding tears for the first time, Makoto feels a new perspective on the world. The following day, a memorial service honors the fallen orc and Shin's fragment. Makoto shares his unique experience with his servants afterward, admitting his ability to see the adventurer's memories despite Tomo typically being the one with such abilities. Tomo laughs, explaining it's due to the deep trust within their group. Mio feels jealous of the bond between Tomo and Makoto, leading to a heated argument between them. Later, Makoto meets with Liddy, Emma, and another comrade to gather updates on their current situation. Satisfied, Makoto issues new directives for them to follow. He then visits the dwarven warehouse to inspect their latest weapons and pays respects to the families of the deceased orc. As night falls, Makoto resolves to secure the Demiplane's future, meeting with Rembrandt at his mansion in Sage to discuss business setup. Rembrandt helps find a suitable location and provides a letter of recommendation. Makoto reciprocates by revealing his true face, amusing Rembrandt and Morris. Back in the Demiplane, Tomo and Mio voice complaints about Makoto spending time with Shiki. Ignoring them, Makoto explains his trust in Shiki's abilities and gifts both servants' books to enhance their skills. Makoto delegates tasks for them while he's away, planning to enroll in the Sage Academy to study humans and the goddess further. Hours later, he teleports to Sage with Shiki, only to find himself on a battlefield due to the goddess's interference. Facing two formidable warriors, Makoto remains composed despite losing 2 fingers. He questions their motives and discovers they are warriors aligned with the demon army. Realizing the imminent threat of thousands of demons, Makoto engages in a serious battle, utilizing his powers and strategic thinking to combat the adversaries. However, Mitsurugi, the other warrior, parries the attacks and creates openings for a comrade to climb and assault their foe, Makoto. Once more, Makoto evades the strike and confronts his adversaries once more. Believing they've nullified the goddess's protection from their target, Sophia prepares for another assault, but Makoto asserts he has no affiliation with the goddess. He inquires about their identities and learns they're renowned adventurers in the human realm. After introductions, Sophia and her ally refuse to accept Makoto's claims of being a mere merchant, gearing up for another decisive strike. Growing weary of the prolonged battle, Makoto removes some of his special rings. Summoning a fiery bow, he launches an arrow at his foes, dealing a significant blow. Before they recover, Makoto fires another arrow, this time imbued with water magic. While Sophia evades, Makoto counters her attack with a weapon from the dwarves, cleaving her sword in 2. Sophia seizes Makoto, carrying him into the air before attempting to impale him on suspended icicles. However, Makoto surprises her by unleashing a devastating attack, shattering the entire terrain after discarding his rings. Though Sophia and Mitsurugi survive, they're left nearly unclothed. Makoto loses consciousness, awakening days later in the demiplane beside his companions. Meanwhile, Rembrandt receives a report from a spy detailing the battlefield incident. Makoto dons his attire and convenes with his companions to strategize their next move. Makoto resolves to accompany Shiki to learn basic magic for future encounters. Despite complaints from Mio and Tomo about being left alone to manage the demiplane, Makoto reassures them, acknowledging their importance as his trump cards. As Makoto prepares to depart, another fragment of Tomokomo arrives and greets him. Elsewhere in the demiplane, Eris and Aqua join the fighters in training camp. Back in Sarge, Mio, ELD, and others demonstrate their shop's wares to intrigued passersby, attracting numerous customers in a single day. Observers, including Rembrandt and Morris, take note of Makoto's shop's progress. Tomo oversees the shop, reflecting on the explosion's impact on those around him. That evening, Makoto spends solitary moments reminiscing about his real-world companions, resolving to make them proud. Emma updates him on demiplane affairs, and as he returns home, Shiki urgently summons him to resolve another dispute between Tomo and Mio. And this brings the anime to an end. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on another video. Until next time, take care.